Welcome back guys to another video. So I'm going to work with my main activity now and retrieve all the users and show it in the recycler view. So we already have our firestore adapter here and the user adapter. So what I'm going to do first is to implement our listener here so that we'll be able to click on each of the users and then open a new activity. So to do that, my listener is inside my user adapter listener. Then what I'm going to do is now is to implement the members. So after that, I'm going to call my adapter, which will be called the privilege init var, and my adapter is, I'll just call it an adapter, and it's actually my user adapter. Okay, so once that is done, I'm going to call my query. Remember, we are querying for users, and then our firestore adapter takes in a query, right? So here I'm going to write another function here to call the query. So I'm going to say init query. Then I'm going to create this method below here. So private fun init query, and in here what I'm going to do is I'm going to call a val, and I'll call this a query, and this will be equals to my Firebase firestore. Where is Firebase firestore? Oh, Firebase firestore dot get instance, and then I'm going to target the collection called users. So I'm going to use the constant class, so this will be constant dot users. And the next thing I am going to do here is to initialize my recycler view. So my recycler view here, where is the main activity main. Oh, I only have a toolbar here, so I'm going to put in a recycler view here, the wx recycler view. So the recycler view, the width should be match parent and the height should be wrap content. Then oops. So inside here, what I'm just going to do is to give it an ID, and then ID I'll call it users view. Now inside the users view, the reason why it's giving me an error is because I have to constrain it to fit my layout. But since I have my user single item here, I just want to see how everything will look. So I'm going to call the list item here, and then it will be from the layout single item. So this should occupy everywhere. It will just give us a preview of how this will look. And as you can see, the recycler view is covering the toolbar. The reason is because we haven't constrained it to match with the toolbar, or we haven't tell the constraint layout how we want the recycler view to be displayed on the screen. So what I will do now is to come to my recycler view. Inside the height, I'm going to first of all remove this out so as to give me some space to work. Then I'll pull this down now. Then I'll constrain the top of the recycler view to the bottom of my toolbar. Then I'll constrain the bottom of the recycler view to the bottom of the parent. And then I'll also constrain the both left and right. So after that, I am going to call the list item again, list item, and then layout user single. As it's still covering, okay, it's not covering it anymore. Now it's taking the available space left on the screen. So to actually make that better, I am going to change the height of recycler view to 0 dp. So 0dp now will now take in the available height. Okay, so I think that's it. So our recycler view is called the user view. I'm going to put my main activity here inside it. So I will call my recycler view here, recycler view. Then this will be, of course, the type of a recycler view. Then here I'm going to use the find view by ID to look for my recycler view. Though you can actually use calling synthetics if you want to. So my recycler view is called users view. And the next thing I'm going to do now is to initialize my adapter to my recycler view. Or first of all, give the recycler view a layers manager. So I'll say recycler view dot layers manager. Normally this dot layout manager comes from dot set layout manager. This is just the property access syntax. So I'm going to say dot layout manager. So this will be equal to a linear layout manager. Then I'm going to just give it the context. The next thing I am going to do is to initialize my adapter. So I'll say adapter, this will be equals to my user adapter. And then in here I will need to pass in two arguments. The first is the query and then the second is the context, just as we've written it here, user adapter. The constructor, I beg your pardon. So the user adapter has a constructor that takes in a query and then it takes in a listener. So our listener can be the context of the activity. So here I'm going to pass in the query and then just the context of the activity, which is the listener. Then I'm going to now set the adapter to the recycler view. So I'll say recycler view dot set adapter. This is going. You can just say set adapter or you can say adapter. Then this will be equal to my adapter. So now that this is done, now the next thing I want to do is to initialize or start listening for changes in the database. So we should do that inside the onStart and the onStop. Okay, so I'm going to override the onStart method here. onStart method, and then I am also going to override the onStop method. So inside the onStart, I'll say adapter.start listening. Inside the onStop, I'll say adapter.stop listening. Right. So this should be working fine. So I'm going to test this out so we can see the result.